Ozonics Killerwinds podcast, Montana Elk Hunting Edition. Pretty excited. I guess I'm Cole Tanner.
Buddy Pilot.
Scott Elrun.
Nick Simon
We got Nick behind.
on the ones and twos.
Yeah. Nick is doing double duty, so he's on the podcast and he's doing all the audio video.
Yeah.
So we kind of have the easy part. We just have to yip yap.
Yeah.
But the kind of cool thing we want to talk about today is we're 2.5 days into this Montana elk hunt. Scott and Buddy are hunting while we're here. Nick and I are trying to film, and we just figured we'd do kind of a, middle of the road, halfway through, see how it's going, talk about it. You know what I mean? It's been pretty awesome so far. I mean, it's crazy what you can cram in 2.5 days.
Yeah. No, this place is unique. Really, it's my first time in Montana, so it's really cool. It's kind of warm.
Yeah.
It's actually it's real warm.
Yeah.
But this, we've got these flat plains, and I get why they call Montana big sky country now. You stand here and look south, and you're just blown away because it's like the world ends, and it's just
nothing
sky.
but sky.
Yeah.
It feels like if you were looking at it from way over here to way over here, it's just sky.
Yeah, no, that's incredible.
It's crazy.
So, and then behind us to the north, we've got these mountains and lots of elk, which is why we're here. So,
Yeah, it's pretty killer because even when we drove here, we flew into Billings and then we drove just north of Billings to where we are. We're basically halfway between Billings and Lewiston. Mm-hmm. It's funny because you're driving, and again, my experience in Southern Colorado looks just like Southern Colorado. It's just nothing. It's just vast, just looks like high desert, and you're kind of driving. You're like, man, there's got to be elk country around here somewhere. And then all of a sudden, you just see these mountains, and it's like, oh baby, here we go.
well, at least in Southern Colorado, there's people. And I mean, we were driving like, where are we at? Because there's nothing here but a dirt road and a barbed wire fence.
Yeah.
For miles.
Yeah. It wasn't even looking at our cell phones for data, trying to figure out we were on Onyx, because that's about the only thing you could see a location on.
That's right.
Yeah, we got a little bit lost there for a little bit. Did a couple switchback turnarounds.
Met a nice old cowboy who said, "Oh yeah, I know where that place is. 4.5 miles west. Just go west, you'll find it, young man."
It's kind of funny because when he pulled up to us, it's almost like he was at his house and he saw the dust coming down the road, and he's probably like, "There's probably 4 people that would be driving down that road," and he knew
they're all lost.
Yeah, he wasn't them. So so he's like, so he pulled up and helped us figure out where we were going.
Yeah, he seemed like he was doing. Yeah, it's a very unique place. I mean, you come out here. I mean, how many places can you go that you ride out here and you see antelope all over the place?
Yeah,
You see elk. You see bear, you see everything right here. So you got this topography that's, I wouldn't say it's extremely different, but it is vastly different.
right.
Between having, got the steep, dark timber, and then it just dumps out on these great big fields, and these elk just pour down here because they just got a plethora of just food to be able to eat. And so, I mean, what a unique opportunity. If you were driving by, you probably wouldn't recognize it as being kind of this elk little haven that it is.
Yes.
And unique opportunity, unique find.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's kind of cool. I mean, that's the other thing to mention is who we're hunting with. We're hunting, the outfitter is a guy named Ryan, and his boy Clay is also guiding, and then their good friend Lance is also guiding. It's O-Bar Lazy E is their outfitting business. And it's kind of a unique thing, like Scott's saying. It's not like it's the biggest piece ever. They've got a chunk of private land that they have leased, and there's a bunch of BLM right connected to it.
Yeah.
But, we talked a lot about this on the way when we were standing there talking to Ryan this morning. Man, when it comes to elk hunting country, I would much rather have quality rather than quantity. And meaning what this place has that makes it just so dino
Incredible.
is the water, baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is dry. Lance and Ryan, we're looking up at the mountain. He's like, everything from here over is no water until you get on the other side of the mountain. And you're like, dang, bro, that's a ways. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, every one of these elk, this is where they come. And Scott and I have seen that the last couple of days. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, I mean, when I first started elk hunting, I mean, it goes back now 30-some years.
Right.
And in Colorado and in New Mexico, and I was hunting all public land. And I'm a public land hunter. I love hunting public land.
Yeah.
But, the way I initially was kind of hunting elk all the time was just kind of running and gunning,
Yep.
right? I wasn't the world's greatest caller, but I would basically kind of wait for a bugle and I'd just close the distance, and not very successful. You know, the first
Yep.
few years, my success rate was very, very poor. But I remember standing hunting the BLM and looking down below and watching those elk just storm off the BLM
Yep.
onto those private sections. And I would just be like, you asses. I can't believe you're doing that, right? Yeah. And now here we are. You get the opportunity to hunt this unique place that's private land.
Yeah.
And I'm sure those guys up there are looking down on
They're
this
just
piece
drooling.
going,
The grass
"You."
is greener on the other side.
Well,
It's
it
greener on
is.
our
It
side.
is.
You know, that comes with its own set of challenges, right? Because
Oh, yeah.
we've got the, as you said the other day, look, we've got the bubble here, and we can push on the bubble, but you can't push so hard you burst the bubble. Because the same thing will happen here. We pressure these elk too
Yeah.
hard, they're going to be in the BLM, or they're
BLM.
going to be on
Oscar
somebody
Mike.
else's private land.
And then they'll
that we
only
can't
hit
touch.
they'll only hit that water during the night. You
That's
know what I mean?
right.
You have to be very careful.
That's
Yeah.
right. So it is a different kind of hunting for us. Like Scott said, we're running gun in the rut and just, you know, you're bugling and chasing. And here, what we, over the span of the last couple of days, these elk, they told us they winter here and they rut here, right?
Yep.
So it's just a really unique, and something you said a minute ago about quality. Quality usually means fewer animals, but here we've got quantity and quality,
Yeah,
which
you're
is
right.
really a kind of a, you don't always get that, right?
Yep.
You
But I
get a
think-
lot of animals, don't necessarily get the quality.
But I think it goes to that bubble thing then, right? So because when you're hunting in BLM, you know, you pull into the parking lot and there's 10 other trucks and you're trying to figure out where everybody's at, and
Right.
you spend more time calling in other outdoorsmen.
Yeah.
And so you don't know where they're at, but you kind of, in your head, you may know the bubble, right? But the bubble is, unfortunately, I got to get there first,
Yes.
right? And so these poor guys are just fighting over this opportunity. And so being able to do your research way ahead of time to basically kind of figure out where and how you're going to get in there and hunt. And we did that for years.
Yep.
I think can make you very successful on BLM also,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's but we here too in the mornings we run and gun, but everybody has their maps out on their phone, and we're just like, all right, I know that sounds very tempting, but we stop right here.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're responding and they got a hot bull, it's just not worth it. So you back away and control your situation a little bit more, and I think there's a lot of brilliance to that.
Yeah. And I think that's the other interesting thing too that we've experienced thus far is that we're right on the edge of these just huge, big, expansive flats, right? And then these big ponderosa ridges. And what these elk are doing is if you looked at from midnight to midnight, they're way out in these big flats. And Nick, how far he was saying that? I mean, you've been driving on these roads, cruising, filming in the mornings. And Lance was talking about sometimes there's hay, like irrigated hay fields down there that are like
Alfalfa and stuff
5 to 7
7 miles
miles
away.
down that they're going to at midnight. You know, they're all middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, 3, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, they say, okay, time to go. And they john it all the way back up through those flats, and they start working back up through these ponderosas to get on these slopes. And from what we can tell, it looks like they're trying to get on the north side, which is going to have more shade, be a bit cooler. And they're bedding up there during the day. And then we've got this water that we're hunting over. They're hitting that water throughout the day. They bed down mid-morning, bed down, maybe get back up, try to get a drink, bed back down again. And then we've been in there by 3 o'clock, and they're bugling and they're up and
burning it up.
they're starting to go back down again. And it's just wild. So it's just this daily, drum of them way up or way out there. Then they go back up, they bed down, then they go back out again. We're trying to catch them in between, whether that's running and gunning in the morning, trying to get in a position where they might come by us, or sitting on these waters in the afternoons where we know where they want to go and putting the wind in our favor the best we can. And then obviously running our HR 500s in these ground blinds, setting them up the right way to help us on that downwind side. And I mean, we have gotten uber close. I mean, like I said, everybody here has done some elk hunting. These afternoons are ranking way up my list.
Oh yeah.
That's the most incredible things I've experienced. I mean, I'm really excited when we get the video done. I say we loosely when Nick produces it to see just what that looks like. I mean, I've been losing count of how many elk we're seeing, how many bulls we're hearing, seeing. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not many places you go where you can see a 330, 340 bull and pass and just go, I think I'm going to pass on that one. And, you know,
He can pass on that one. There's been a little bit of a discussion about what we're shooting, what we're not, because I'm like,
Yeah, maybe 350. He forgot about that one.
yeah. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, no,
there's been-
the quality is incredible, and to
Yeah.
have the opportunities that
Yeah.
have been put in such a short time frame. Again, it's just the right recipe.
Yep.
And when you get the right recipe, this is what you get. And what we have to do as good hunters is not overpressure the animals and be smart.
yeah. And like you're just saying there, it's such a balancing act. We've only got 5 days.
Yeah, we
You
want to
guys-
get it done.
Yeah, you guys are from Texas. Nick and I are coming from Iowa. It's hard to get everybody together. And then you're trying to do it on video. I mean, it's just wild that we're just hitting it perfect. There's animals here. It's just, yeah, it's been pretty killer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, not only that, the other thing Scott talk about, or actually Nick, you probably be the one to talk about it. I think we've all seen some more stuff besides elk. You know, I think each of us have seen some pretty cool things, you know, individually. The coolest thing I've seen so far is a porcupine. I thought that was pretty cool. I think you've got the coolest stuff that you've seen so far, and I guess we saw them too.
yeah,
Talk a little bit about that.
about the moose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Shirus moose.
Yeah, coming down in the
Two of
morning.
them, right?
And they were bulls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, you know, every time you're next to him, that stinker was running down the ditch between the fence line and the road, and we were sitting up in a pickup truck, and we were like eye level.
Yeah, we're just going like this.
and
we're
he
like,
was
hey.
he was in the ditch.
Oh, he's right there.
Yeah, so, I mean,
He didn't
there-
jump the fence. He just basically just kind of like
Stepped
walked
over
over
it.
it. Yeah.
But that one was a
Massive.
young boy. I didn't get to see him in person, but
Yeah.
I seen him on footage, and that one was a little younger. That was a pretty good Shirus.
Yeah. I mean, Shirus moose are the smallest of the
Right.
three between Shirus, Canadian, Alaska, Yukon. But yeah, the one was like, I mean, there's a moose hunter somewhere out there that would be super happy
Oh yeah.
if that guy walked in.
Yeah, it was kind of cool too, because me and Ryan saw him right away in the morning.
Yeah.
Went and kind of did our thing, driving back. Saw him again later in the morning, and then we went into town. And when we were coming back, we saw him again.
They were right there again.
Yeah,
There's
so-
something by the
He
roads.
was in the middle of the pond when you came back,
Yeah, when we
right?
Oh,
came
he
back,
was.
he was
Yeah.
standing in the pond.
Standing in the pond.
Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. So we saw him 3 different times.
And then besides that, you also saw a black bear.
Yep, got some video of a black bear, some mule deer, and then like Cole was saying too, when he was talking about the elk coming from a ways away. The first morning I had an elk walk from. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
But the
I'm
better
like,
part about that too is he was taking pictures of just the landscape, right? He's taking these pictures. He looks on his viewfinder and he's like, "Whoa, wait!" You zoom in and there's the bull on the
Yeah.
farthest horizon. There he is,
silhouetted, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what the heck is going on? And sure enough, he came right in and walked right into where everybody else was hunting that
Right,
morning.
moving
So
back and forth. Yeah.
yeah, yep.
Yeah. No, it's pretty wild. Like I said, it's really fun, I think, to see Ryan and Lance and Clay. They know this country, right? That's, I think, a lot of times, you know, when it comes to a guided hunt as well, you're paying not only for a person that knows how to elk hunt, but they know the country.
Right.
And that's the one thing about these guys is they know this is where they're going to start out. This is where they're going to end up. I mean, even this morning, like you and I are kind of looking at Onyx. We're trying to figure it out. And Ryan already knew. He's like, oh, there's a windmill up here. They're going to go up over this ridge. They're going to bed right there. I mean, it's just, yeah.
The one thing you can count on with elk is that you can't count on them to do the thing, but
Yeah.
a guide helps at least give you he takes some of the guesswork out, right? Because of from experience and local knowledge.
Yep.
And so he shortens that learning curve. For us, we show up here, we don't know anything about the place, we don't know anything about the pattern of the elk.
Yep.
Your guide comes in, he helps flatten that learning curve and get you on animals.
Yep. So I think the other fun thing about this trip has been usually at work, because we're all Ozonics employees. I guess 3 of us are. One of the guys is the owner, so he's the man. He doesn't have to be an employee. But usually it's a lot more serious, right? I don't get to usually razz Scott very much, like ever. Usually it's kind of like yes sir, no sir, how you doing today? You know, like I try not to bother him. But when we're here and we're at a hunting camp, I kind of lay it on pretty thick. So we've had some pretty awesome encounters with a couple bulls in these afternoon spots, and 2 bulls in particular have gotten nicknames.
Yep.
Yep. And we've decided
Hard-earned nicknames.
Yeah. So we've named one Scott and we've named one Elrod.
Both of which you'd be happy for us to kill.
Yeah. He would. I think anybody in camp would be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We almost had a wrestling match in there that first night because first bull Scott came in, and like you said, sometimes you hit him, sometimes you don't, and missed. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It's part of it. You know what I mean? And so I told Scott, like right after, I'm like, I'm sorry, man, but I'm like, that bull's named Scott. I'm like, it's just what it's going to have to be. And he's like, oh no, come on. Can't we name him like something else besides that? I'm like, no. So his name's Scott. And then we had a bull very similar, older,
Awesome.
bigger. I mean,
He looks bigger on film.
okay. Tomato.
Don't you always say that everything's a little bit bigger on camera?
I'm not going to answer that. yeah, we got to keep this PG. No, but
well, you showed it me that night. I did regret that.
So then we named that bull Elrod.
Because I did pass on that sucker, standing right in front of me.
Yeah. He just.
Oh, he's huge body bull.
Oh,
I seen him and couldn't control myself. Just stuff fell out of my mouth.
Again, I'm going to leave that one alone. Yeah. No, but that was a crank. It's a cranker.
Cranker, yeah.
They're both crankers.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And
anybody that hunts elk, I think the vast majority of them would be absolutely all over both of those. And Scott was all over the first one, and again, in the moment, sometimes it's just the situation. It's hard to judge this stuff on the hoof, and you gotta the right situation has to happen, right? And it doesn't always do that. So
yeah, and obviously, it adds an entirely new layer when you're trying to video. I think that's been, it's not like you guys hunt on video all the time. None of us do really, right? Like Nick and I are trying to get out every chance we can, and you guys are too. But a lot of times you're just hunting for yourself, and so when you hunt on camera, it adds a whole nother dimension of just complexity because you can't just like get in the ground blind and go, oh, this is how I'll set up. Well, that's great for the hunter, but then all of a sudden I can't see anything. It's like, well, that doesn't work for me, Scott. Like, we're trying to shoot this whole thing, but we have to end up compromising on pieces of it, And so,
which means sometimes you can't take the shot.
Exactly.
Just
and then
simple as that.
Exactly. You're not only just trying to take a high percentage shot, broadside or quartering away, but now you're trying to get it on video as well. So there's just a lot of moving parts that all of a sudden have to just completely line up to pull it off.
First world problems.
Yeah.
And I
all
guess
good problems to have.
Yeah.
And I guess for learnings about this, right? So I mean, I love to shoot. I mean, shooting is one of my few hobbies I really, really enjoy doing. And I shoot a lot, and so I feel very comfortable at different distances and everything. But I think that shooting in controlled environments is not the world of hunting.
No,
they're two different animals.
Right.
You get out there and you start in the world of hunting, and all of a sudden, you're shooting from sitting down on a stool, sitting down on the ground, kneeling on the ground.
Yeah.
Shooting an area where you can't really draw back your normal draw, right? Because you're hitting the backs of blinds or hitting parts of a tree. I mean, I think that, the one thing I've kind of taken out of this, even after all these years of doing this one here has taught me that you need to master being able to function in very difficult situations, right? And drawing that bow back and getting settled in and figuring out where you're going to go or how you're going to do this is just different than shooting a dot or shooting a target.
Shooting dots as you said, in a controlled environment in your backyard is very different than shooting on a steep angle with a crosswind down a ravine at a live animal when your heart's dumping and you're excited and you got somebody in your ear going, no.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or yes.
Yeah. Well, and I think, Nick and I, we, during lunches, a lot of times during our lunch break, we'll run over to Casey's, get a slice of pizza, and then we'll head out to the archery range. It's less than 10 minutes from the office, and we'll, shoot a dozen arrows or so, and we'll go back. 60 yards right there. There's always a picnic table right there. And the one day we're just shooting along, and I said, well, let's do something different. And I set my foot up on the picnic table like I was, Captain Jack, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, what are you doing? I was like, dude, we're going to Idaho. I'm like, this is what it's going to be like.
foot
We're
on
not
the boulder,
we're
right?
not on flat ground. You could be,
You're
I mean,
on
look at some of the
hillside,
country you were climbing in yesterday with Clay.
Oh yeah.
It was steep country.
Oh yeah.
And it's just not level gravel grass like you're used to. So as often as you can to try to put yourself in those other positions, even as when they got here, when we got here, Scott's been, shooting off of a cooler here. He's just sitting down out of a cooler and then he's standing up because we're doing multiple different things. So if you could try to put yourself in those different types of situations the best you can. Nick, you love 3D shoots. That's another great way.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
half those targets, they don't put them right out in the open. They put them right between two trees.
Yeah, 2 trees, and
Yeah.
a lot of times you're on uneven ground. They have some spots where you're up on a stack of bricks. Like
Did you have to shoot one off like a little raft in the water?
Yeah, there was a raft floating in the river, and you had to shoot it in the river. It's a really fun and really actually good way to put yourself in that situation a little
absolutely.
bit. So
But yeah, and like I said, you can do all that stuff, and then it's like you said, you still got me or Nick chirping in your ear. You know what I mean? Like on him, nope, and you might be already be at full draw.
Yeah.
So it just really,
Well,
it's
and
tricky.
you've got elevation, right? Something to play in here. So
Yep.
now we come from sea level, and you get up here. I mean, we train, but you can train all you want.
Yeah.
And you get up here at 5,500 feet when we're on top of the mountain, and you like, oh, I got to make a move on one of these animals.
Yeah.
And you take off for 300 yards to try to get in position, and now you're trying to catch your breath and breathe and draw and aim and make a good shot. And
Yeah.
so which is, I think, I say it all the time, bow hunting's hard. And
Yeah.
that's why we love it, because
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yep. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think as we kind of shift the conversation here, we've been talking a lot about what's happened thus far.
Yep.
I think the great thing is we still have 2.5 days left. Right?
Absolutely.
So we're right at halfway. I think as we look forward, as the rest of this hunt starts to play out, I think we've really seen that these water holes in these elevated blinds or in these just kind of brush blinds that they're making, that is mint, right? We know that seems like that's been very productive this
I think it's
far.
high percentage, sure. I had a great morning this morning. I mean,
Yeah.
we got within 150 yards of a shooter first thing, and
You got from Scott.
No, I don't know that was Scott. The second bull that we were 70 yards from, which I was at full draw on him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's full draw on the second one, broadside, but he was on a cow, and when she's trotting by, and he's trotting behind her. So,
Yeah.
and we couldn't stop, and we tried. It was freaking insane how fun that was. This
So
morning.
what'd you think of Scott though? I mean,
Well,
was he
that's what
was
I-
he impressive?
That's
or-
what I was telling you. I didn't
Just
realize he was Scott.
Handsome.
Yeah, no, he was
Stunning.
Regal.
Lot to him.
Little
Regal.
bald on top.
Regal.
He
Yeah.
Regal. Yeah.
White tips.
Yeah, white tips.
Way.
No, he did remind me of you.
Yeah,
Did
no.
remind me of you.
He's like, I'd like to stick an arrow in him.
No, but it was a phenomenal morning.
Right.
And one of the things that I feel like after 2.5 days here, a learning I have seeing these animals is they are being pressured around here.
Yep.
And to me, they seem very call shy. Like with other places, when we hunt New Mexico in the public land, sometimes you don't bugle a lot unless there's just dead, right? You might throw a bugle out there to see if you can get somebody to talk. The
Yep.
rest of the time, it's cow calls. But here, like this morning, we bugled early to this bull. We found him on the slope. Once we bugled at him, shut off. But he kept looking. He's looking for us, right? Where
Yes.
are they at? Where's that bull at? I see him down there. But he was calm and he just
Yep.
kept feeding. So we make our move, get up there and get in position. But the second we hit that cow call on him, gone.
Right.
I mean, he just
Well, and I
and,
think
and it's not that Clay's a bad cow caller, because he's not. He does great.
Yeah.
It's just that I think there's a lot of bad cow callers around here, and you're just not hearing cows talk right now either.
Well, and it's funny you say that. I
Yeah.
think you're hitting the nail on the head. We'll play some video right now, and unfortunately, it was pitch dark. We had a bunch of elk come in behind us last night, standing 30 yards from the blind, and then they got up on the top of this ridge, and then this other bull started to work around, and those two bulls carried on for 45 minutes. I mean, they were going berserko, bugling, clunking at each other, clunking at their cows. Clunking usually means that there's a cow that's in estrus, right?
Right.
She's ready to rock and roll. And those bulls were carrying on. They locked up for just a quick sec. You could hear that crack. But in all that time, I think we probably heard 45 minutes. I mean, maybe 6 cow calls.
Yeah.
And it was, it was like, it was incredibly quiet.
Yeah.
we just didn't hear that. And I think as elk
Almost
hunters,
like a calf call.
yeah,
Talking, yeah.
well, you could hear the cows, and then there was a couple calves that, they're just really short,
Yeah.
quick, like, hey, where you going, mom? Type deal. But it was just so few.
Yeah.
I think we all have a tendency as elk hunters to get out there and really rake on your calls, and it doesn't seem like here that's what's happening.
Not right now.
No,
certainly
no.
not right now.
Yep. When they get cranked up and the
So-
cows are in estrus and you're
Yeah.
hyperlipping and the bulls are just running all over because they're just don't know what to do themselves. But that's not quite yet
Yeah.
here.
And again, I'm just guessing, right? It's just
Yep.
2.5 days because I was the first one on the first couple of days, like, hey, let's hit the cow call.
Yeah.
But just watching and being around a little bit and staying in the game, and
Yep.
that's just kind of what I think we're learning right now.
Absolutely.
So
Yep, absolutely. And I think we felt that with Ryan this morning and Lance before.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. This morning we got all of a sudden just kind of right in the middle of them, and they responded to a bugle. He just let out just kind of a young bull, just not a very, just like, hey, I'm just over here, and they all just hyped off right around us, and yeah, it's just crazy.
that was a great young bull impression.
Yeah, no, I'm not a world
Great.
class caller. Yeah, yeah. I did feel like last night though. I told Scott. I said, man, I wish I had a read with me right now because, if I wasn't the
Well, you might have
cameraman,
knocked over the blind.
but if I had my read with me, we would have probably tried to sneak down a little sooner. I would have just tried to bugle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we got down and they're hearing something and they're not hearing anything happen when there's all these bulls bugling.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can use a bugle after dark to help sneak out of a spot. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because I just go, I heard a snap and then I hear a bugle. Oh, that's just another bull.
Right.
But yeah, we got stuck in there for a bit.
Yeah, it was fun, because we were basically, they were coming from all directions.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what was a lot of fun to kind of be involved in that. And when the two on the top, basically, because they kind of came from the bottom, because we're like halfway between the very bottom and the top. And they basically were working all these cows over, and you could hear that one. And I swear it was Scott, right? That growler. Because it's sort of like now I've heard that, people say, oh, I can tell that's that bull. And I'd be like, oh, you're so full of crap.
Yeah.
But no, this one
Sometimes
here,
you can.
this one here, he's just unique. And now we've seen him 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
And you can just see him because it's like that kind of a high and then a guttural kind of like.
Yeah.
that
He
is-
finishes real rough.
Yeah. And when he came on, you could hear him slow, but he didn't come in fast. He just eased his way down, came up. I don't think that one bull on top knew what he was getting into.
Yeah.
And then they clanked for a little bit, and the next thing you know, he was gone. And you said you saw him take a few of the cows.
Oh yeah, that was the thing. I was joking with Scott. I mean, it was almost dark, and I could see the elk, right? I could see him working across. You could hear him clear as day clunking along. And this other bull had all these cows right above us, and he walked over there like the man and just took a cow away.
Just took him.
Oh yeah, he took one, walked her all the way back over here to a little meadow, went back, did it again. He did it 5 or 6 times, and I told him, I said, and that bull on top just kept bugling, and he kept growling, bugling at him, and I'm like, I told Scott, I said, this isn't gonna go good. I said, these guys are gonna fight here in a sec,
Yeah.
and not, but a couple seconds after that, you just heard a crack, and
That
then
was it.
that was it. This guy's like, you're cool. And you heard him bugle off, and they were gone. He was like, okay, this isn't working for me. I got to keep the cows I have left.
Right.
And then all of a sudden here, he took his little new harem and he's like, okay, ladies, here's where we're going. But yeah, I think as we move forward, we're going to continue to hunt these blinds and over this water. And like you said, it was really cool to see how your morning went.
Yeah, it's
And
phenomenal.
I think too, elk hunting, a lot of types of hunting, you're trying to make the right decision as you go. Trying to make the right move and the right decision. You try to stack all that up in your favor, and all of a sudden, the harder you work, the luckier you get, and you find yourself in the middle of them.
Yep.
That's what happened to you this morning.
Yep.
So I think we
For sure.
continue to hunt the mornings a bit passively, and just try to get ourselves in the right position, and then hunt this water in the afternoon, and see what happens.
Yep.
Hunting them or killing them, right? Is just 2 different things. And we talked about that today a
Yeah.
little bit, right?
Absolutely.
When you go out there and it's so exciting to get out there, walk, call, and try to get in between them and try to get a shot at one of them and see what you got. But when you can kind of find out where they're going, whether it's a wallow or it's water, they need that.
Yep.
And when they start to make that migration from that dark timber back down to those fields and intersect them,
Yep.
it gives you that chance, and they're passive. I mean,
Yes.
when you're calling them or they're in the middle process of bugling each other, they're looking for a fight.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, you cow call, They're looking for some action.
Yep.
Either way, their alarms are on. They're looking.
Yeah. They're wired up.
When they come into that water or that wallow and you just give them a second, you can just see their whole body demeanor just chill.
Yeah.
Just relax.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that you call Elrod, I mean, he was so
Everybody
big.
calls him, not just me. I'm just going to put that on record.
But he literally, I've said it now numerous times. I was fascinated because I've never seen an animal roll over on his back in a wallow and get his horn stuck in the mud.
Yeah, and
Couldn't get him out.
look like, I don't even know, like a beaver tail, throwing that up in the air, just mud flinging everywhere.
It was like he was throwing doormats up in the air.
God.
I mean, we were up on this elevated blind, and the doormats of sod were coming up as high as we were.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the dude's got 52-inch beams.
I know.
And I can understand why his horns got stuck in the mud. You lean back, and they're buried in there 3 feet.
I have a tendency to get excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, terrible.
Yeah, I do. So after, so then this one, I was like, okay, I'm gonna hold it together a bit more. So I see him. We'll show that clip of video where he comes across, and you can see him lean his head back, and his tips are like scratching his. Like,
I didn't see that video clip. I didn't see that.
So then he comes in, and Scott's like, "Is it a good one?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh, your words were, I think he's a really nice 5x5. Let's be
when
very
I
clear.
first saw him, I thought he was
Which
a
I
5x5. Yep, because I saw him.
Of huge whale tails.
I saw him straight on, and generally huge whale tails like that, meaning his back points. Some people call them other things. I call them whale tails. A lot of guys call them that. He was way splayed out. I mean, way out there. And I'm like, oh, he's a big 5x5. And then all of a sudden he came around and he got on that water, and I'm looking, I'm trying to peek out, and then I saw 6 on each side. I'm like, oh, geez. And I'm like, dude, that's a 6x. And he's like, is it a good one? What do you think? What do you think? And then he's like, you tell me, Cole. If you tell me I shoot him, I'll shoot him. I'm like, great. Now I don't want that on me. I'm like, hold on. So I'm looking at him like, okay, you go through it.
Because
First
I
look-
couldn't see him out that area.
So you look at his fronts. I'm like, okay, great fronts. You look at his trees. Dang, he's got good threes. Well, let's look at his fours.
Right.
Oh, geez, those are like baseball bats, and they're 18 inches, 20 inches long. I was like, okay, well, let's look at his 5 and 6. Oh, he's just splayed out. I mean, huge. All right, all that's good. Well, let's look at his mass. Mass.
all the way to the end.
And then let's look at his total length. Well, that'd be 48. That'd be 50. He's not 55, but he's not 50. 52, 53. Look, it's kind of, I was like, I think I said Giant. Giant. I'm like, shoot that son of a gun. But
Well,
yeah,
I don't know if he's
he
telling
had
the
he had
story
Scott on his
correctly.
mind. That's what it was. He had Scott on his mind.
I did have Scott.
You
on
did.
my-
No, you did.
I admit that.
That happens.
I admit that. I was comparing.
Yeah,
right?
oh,
And
yeah.
in my head, and so it was just. I knew that quality of animal was here, and I didn't have an idea. I mean, from hunting the Gila and seeing some of those beasts down there,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you come here and you don't know what you're going to get
Right.
into. And
Yep.
when I saw that, I'm like, holy smokes, something's. I've passed on now. I don't know how many bulls that were decent.
We've kind of lost track.
Yeah,
In,
but I mean,
in just 2 days.
yeah. I just
For
I enjoy
the record, I've
watching
not
elk too.
passed
I
on
was
anything.
gonna say, if you could take my blood pressure when I'm with him, I'm like, I get out of the blind. I'm like,
I'm not real good at passing on.
I'm like, why do I feel like I ran like 20 miles? And Buddy's over here just salivating. He's like, put a ball under 80, and it's like there's gonna be 3 arrows in the air, just launching them. But
It's gonna be
yeah,
like the Spartans.
it
all
is
the
funny
arrows
how you've
coming
kind of
down.
had a bit of stark difference in the way the hunts have gone, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like, and sometimes you know this going ice fishing, you can have 2 holes in the ice, and one guy's just pounding them, and the other guy can't do anything right. And it's like, not that you're not doing anything right, it's just that it hasn't been as hot.
Well, and we kind of, I run into this in New Mexico when you've got a lot of deep draws coming off of a central location.
You gotta pick one
You got to
and-
pick one,
and-
and if you're not in the right one, the first night they come down right in front of us, right behind us.
Yeah.
Last night they come down our draw and then cut to the top. They were probably within 300-400 yards, a couple bulls.
Yep.
And they just went on top and went down the draw that we parked in. So it's just a matter of time. I mean, Lance told us, right? He said, "Listen, we're going to put you there, and at 5 out of 10 hunts, you're going to get an animal.
Yeah.
But 5 times you're not." And so 2 nights, we had a nice coyote last night. Had a good encounter with that coyote. And,
Yeah, that's cool.
Close. No cigar.
Yeah.
Scared him.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I feel like elk hunting comes down to 3 things: First, you have to find them. Then you start hunting them, and then you try to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
And we found them. We didn't find them. They found them.
Yeah.
They're here. We have been hunting them.
Yep.
And now it's time to start killing them.
Yep. Agreed.
And I think that's what's in store for the rest of this trip. You agree?
I agree.
Nick's over there. He is just you
Look,
you can see the GoPro angle. He is slaving away in
Yeah.
the sun, just
Yeah,
torched.
He's
over
working
there.
on his tan.
Off of him.
That poor guy's sitting with me tonight.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what. That's the other part about this. That's the other part. This has nothing to do with hunting, but and Scott couldn't believe this. I said to him because Nick was going to go with us go with you yesterday, and one thing led to another, didn't work out. So I ended up with Scott, and he was like, we were talking about it, and I because I suggested, hey, let's have Nick go with Scott, and I'll go with Buddy, and he's like, well, why'd you want to switch? And well, why? And I said, well, part of it, I mean, Buddy and I have like never actually hunted together. And he's like, yeah, you have. And I'm like,
Yeah, I forgot we've
hunted
I thought
together
we did in New Mexico.
one day.
Yeah,
One
I
day.
thought that was it.
Yep, one day.
And we had a tribe with us.
Yep. And there was
Yeah.
like 5 people. So I didn't
Right.
really kind of feel like that was because it was
Right.
you, me, Mike, can't think of his name,
Adam,
and that other cameraman,
Jared.
Jared. I didn't even really count that, So
Yeah.
we kind of talked about this for a long
Right.
time hunting together. And he's like, you've hunted with Buddy? I was like, no, I haven't. I was like, it's been 7 years I was on because I've never actually just been, hunted together.
He asked me the day, and I was like, "Oh yeah." And then I got to thinking about it. I was like, "I really only remember that one day
Yeah,
that
it's
you
crazy.
got to go because
Yeah.
the rest of the time you kind of
We were doing other stuff filming.
Right,
Yeah.
and-
Yep. And
yeah.
I hunted with Scott. And yep.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, and I mean, it was just kind of fun. It's kind of funny because I'm really excited for Nick to experience this water hole in that
Yeah.
spot. That's going to be pretty awesome. And I think I'm excited. I'm really excited to hunt with you and just see what we can kind of come up with.
Yep.
So that's going to be, you need to put a GoPro on you tonight and just get your reactions because Nick's nickname is Hot Mess. And it's going to be hot in the blind and he's going to be a hot mess. Because if those elk come in, it's going to be crazy. You know it's true.
It's not true.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I'm laser focused in there.
Yeah. But no, it should be a heck of a time. And I'm excited to see how the rest of it turns out.
Well, I mean, from what I've seen on camera, I'd be excited to be in there with the kind of action you guys got going on.
Yeah.
If you've hunted Iowa during the rut,
Yep.
it's crazy.
Yep.
You hunt most places, but Kansas and Iowa really are special. Sometimes just the amount of deer you see in the rut and the
Yep.
quality of deer. Well, what's going on at Yale's water hole is like a rut.
It doesn't even feel
whitetail
real.
rut.
Yeah.
Just animals everywhere,
we haven't been-
nonstop
we
from the
haven't-
time you get there until you can't leave. You got to push them out.
Well, it's like we haven't been able to have any other conversation except, did you hear that? Oh, there's
Did you
one.
see that?
Get ready. Knock an arrow. Oh, he's walking off. Did you see that leg? We're not having much. He asked, he's like, so did you guys have some good conversation? I'm like, no, not really. I'm like, we haven't got to how are the kids doing? How's Ruthie and the kids? We haven't done any of that. It's just been elk hunting.
Yeah, there's no Instagram scrolling going on here.
No. I've had my phone on airplane mode. I mean, we've been just elk hunting.
Yep.
But yeah. All right. Well, I think that's pretty good. I think that's a good way to end it right there. Let's start killing them. What do you think?
No,
I'm in.
I'm ready.
I'm in.
I'm ready.
Listen, Buddy did say we need to end this thing so we can get a little nap in, even if it's 10-minute nap. So we better get going so we can get a little shut eye in.
Well, we're heading out early.
Oh yeah.
So
you guys
we're
are
gonna
good.
we're gonna be heading out here at like 2.
Yeah.
Yesterday
yeah.
we got in there. We tried to get in there at like at 2:30 or 3. We got in there and there was already elk moving down.
Oh, geez,
And
they're
so
already
they
bugling.
were bugling and
Well,
moving
it's
in
hotter
at 3
today,
o'clock.
So I think they're gonna be looking for water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
So
I mean, it's almost 90 degrees here today.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's
So-
definitely a smoke show.
Yeah.
it is odd. So
Yeah.
but
Well, I think we end it there, don't you think, Nick? All right, guys. Thanks for watching Ozonics
Will do.
Killerwind. Ozonics
take
Killer-
care everybody. Thank
I
you.
can't say Ozonics Killerwind podcast. That's the end.
Do you want me to say it?
Yes, say it.
All right, guys. Thanks for
Thanks for watching Ozonics Killerwinds podcast. That's it.
Here we go.
2.5
Thank
days
you.
left.
Here we go.
We're gonna go do this.
live from elk camp.
Live from Elk Camp, live from Montana.
Wait. Everybody stay really quiet.
What was that? Just played no people noise on the thing. That'll come through on the audio later.
All right. See you next week.
Yep, see you next week.